Welcome, craft beer friends, to Season 7, Episode 22 of Tap to Craft Podcast. I am Denny Luce, coming to you from Boise, Idaho, and my partner in craft, the dog whisperer, and my favorite Florida man, also known as Drinking Eagle, from Tampa, Florida, Mr. Chris McKenzie. How you doing tonight, Chris? And of course, what is in your glass?
I am doing really well today, Denny. Like you and I were just talking about, I was fortunate enough to be able to spend the day at the beach today.
Nice.
And, you know, funny enough that you guys joke and call me Drinking Eagle, I'm about to move to a neighborhood called Indian Hills. So
you're going home.
And I live on Apache Lane or Apache Trail. It's not this is just working out.
Nice.
But yeah, today is good. And in my glass tonight, I'm drinking something again from your side of the country. It's from Pfriem family.
Oh, I love Pfriem.
Oh my gosh. Every time I get a hold of this stuff, or every time I can get a hold of this stuff, it's their Helles lager. And guess what? Just like everything else they brew, it's just freaking delicious.
Yeah.
This is not only is this, super clear, but nice and crisp, a little bit of hops in there, nothing too overwhelming, super smooth, really easy to drink. I mean, man, I wish I could get a hold of their stuff as much as possible, but every time it comes up on our favorite beer delivery website, I make sure I buy some of it.
Yeah, you gotta do that.
And Tom Byrne hopping in real quick, and his comment was "caca."
Yes, perfect. Welcome, Tom. Hope you're not working. You can enjoy this show with a beer in your hand.
Yeah.
If you are working, then hey, hope you can keep listening for.
Just hide the beer.
Yeah, just hide the beer. Still do that.
What about you, Denny? How are you doing today, and what's in your glass?
I'm doing great, fantastic, and I'm excited to talk to you, Chris, and have our listeners watch along with us as we record this episode, where we have an exciting topic that was brought to us by one of our great listeners. But before we get to that, I am drinking a beer. I just poured this one. Looks like it might be a pale ale, but it's not. It's an IPA. But what type of IPA is it? Well, guess what? This is a beer from locally, Western Collective. It's the Roca Jack Cold IPA. And we talked about cold IPA a couple episodes ago because Eric Gronley asked, sent us a few topics and wanted to find out about the cold IPA. And, sounds like an oxymoron to him. Hey, every IPA should be cold, right? So what's the deal with this? And we did talk about that style. And Tom Byrne, right after we talked about it, said, hey, Denny, I just had a cold IPA in town at Western Collective. Western Collective is a Boise brewery. And he said, you should keep an eye on it. And sure enough, I was going through the local Albertson store. And I always peruse the aisle, even if I don't need beer, just in case there's something there special that I want to pick up. And sure enough, there's a 4-pack of this stuck back in the back of the shelf. And, in front of it was their Peekaboo, whatever, or I can't remember what Peekaboo IPA or Hazy IPA, whatever it is. I can't remember the name of it exactly now. But, and then behind it was this beer. So I grabbed it and I said, I'm buying a 4-pack because I want to find out what cold IPA really is like. And I'll tell you what, it's actually a pretty unique style beer that gives off a lot of, it reminds you a lot of a lager, but does have a decent hop presence in it. And the hop presence is done well, right? We talked about some of the problems you could have if you try to add hops into a fermenter and do dry hopping with a lager, because it's at a colder temperature and the hops just don't, play well with it. And I think that with this method they're using with the lager yeast at a higher temperature is a good alternative to give you kind of lager flavors with a good hop presence too when you put the hops in. So so it's good. I'm gonna take a sip. No, I can't take a sip. If I take a sip, then I can't talk. I gotta be able to talk. So okay. I'll take a sip after I pass the baton back to you. But this is one of the beers I'm drinking. I'm also gonna be drinking a beer from your side of town or the States, Cigar City Fancy Papers. Now, we don't get very many Cigar City beers. We get High Ally and we get, a few things, but not a lot of the special stuff. And then one of the beers that they started bringing over to us is their Fancy Papers uh, Hazy IPA. So I got a can of that I'll be drinking also. And I want to let you know, I'm always hesitant when I buy IPAs, especially from across the country,
Sure,
where it might not be fresh. So when do you think this can was canned, or this beer was canned on?
So I would also imagine that beer may have been brewed in Boulder, Colorado, too.
Oh, good point. Okay, so that's even worse if if that's the case.
It's even worse.
But you're right.
It means it's closer.
It is closer, but I'll just tell you, it's 6 months old.
Oh,
yeah, it was canned November of 2020.
Oh,
so I didn't find because on the cartons, I figured out that they print it on the inside of the flaps. You can't see what it is from the outside.
So I found out on the bottom of the can too.
And it's on the bottom of the can. So I couldn't find it on the outside of the box. I said, I'll take a chance on it, see how it is. And then when I poured it and drank it without looking at the date, and I'm like, wow, this is actually a pretty good beer. And I didn't even look at the date. I'm like, this is not bad. It's not the best hazy IPA I ever had, but as far as a beer that might have come from Florida or Colorado, it wasn't the worst hazy I've had. And I actually enjoyed it. And Sarah enjoyed it. We drank 2 cans of it. We enjoyed it so much. And then I looked in the bottom of it and I said, wow, for 6 months old, this actually holds up pretty well. It's kind of like Sierra Nevada's hazy, right? That beer can have a pretty decent shelf life and still taste good. And I think the same thing with the Cigar City Fancy Papers. The shelf life is actually higher than most hazy IPs would be if it was something other type of brewage. So what do you think about that?
So it interests me because you mentioned that the cigar Sierra Nevada, the hazy little thing. Is that what you were mentioning? Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, hazy little thing. Yeah.
So that's one of those beers that the guys on the Fermented Reality Beercast always talk about picking up at the gas station.
Yeah, gas station beer.
And you and I probably immediately go into this whole gas station IPAs. No way, right? Now, granted, I would have to say kind of our experience in the craft beer world may differ with a couple of those guys. I'd be curious because remember Dan said that the guy at the store buys those cases just for Dan.
Oh, really? That's so Dan's the only one that drinks that.
Maybe, but that's what we were talking about on our last episode was, he said, yeah, he buys it for us. Like we're the only people that buy this. And I'm sure someone does occasionally too, but I wouldn't imagine anybody's going in there going, okay, Natty Light, hazy little thing. Let's give that a whirl. Right.
Yeah.
You never know, but yeah, it's, it kind of, I would look at that and I'd go, oof, if I've never tried it, let's give it a whirl. And, actually, one of the beers of my new and noteworthy, which kind of falls into our whole topic of the evening, is a beer that I had that I wasn't really too fond of when I first had it.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that a little bit more. So,
all right. Well, you know what, Chris? Let's get into the meat of the show. But like I always like to do, in case we have anyone new listening to this podcast, I want to explain what Tap to Craft podcast is all about. We are an educational podcast. We focus around celebrating all things craft beer because we want to help you, our listeners, along in your craft beer journeys and adventures. And you're listening to episode 178. We're recording on Monday, May 17th, 2021. And in this episode, we will discuss why IPAs are so popular. And like I mentioned earlier, this topic was brought to us by one of our Jeff Seiler. He has a lot of different little ideas of what we could talk about, little short phrases. And I found a few I wanted to try to get into this one episode. I decided that this is a big enough question that we don't need to talk about anything else because there's a lot of stuff that goes into why IPAs are such a popular style in America, going all the way back, to 2016 or so, maybe even before 16, but probably 13, 16. This has been maybe I'll say 16. It's been a very popular style with all new people coming into craft beer. They know what an IPA is and they go for it. Why is that? We want to find out why IPA is so popular. So
my buddy Bill said Wawa has a great selection, which is the gas station place near us.
Okay. A great selection of IPAs.
Admittedly, you know what? He's not wrong. He's not wrong. I have definitely been to a Wawa gas station and have walked in there and have been like, wow, they've got actually, and it's a lot. There's definitely a lot of IPAs in there, so I'm a little concerned. But there's definitely been time when I go in there and I'm like, okay, you could grab a 20-ounce can of Budweiser, or you could get this, whatever else is in there. And then there's all these little craft options from local craft options, which if I knew they were fresh, I might drink them.
Yeah,
I really would.
Well, just look on the can, spot them, and see if it is fresh. Maybe it is, or maybe it's 6 months old, but still good.
Yeah. Well, and also too, if anybody ever got a hold of Wawa, actually did a collaboration with a coffee company and a brewery. Yeah, they do have lots of dogfish stuff there too, Bill. They did a collaboration with a brewery that Wawa did, where Wawa has fairly good coffee, and they used their coffee in a I think it was just a regular stout, or it might have been an imperial stout called Snowbird, which is what we call people that come down to Florida every year. And it was actually a really good beer. They sold it in 4-packs for, I don't know, $16-17. And,
oh, wow.
And picked it up on just, hey, look, it's part of our job, Denny. We get paid very poorly for it as far as financially, but hey, look, the experiences and the fun and the people just make it that much better.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know what? As you can tell, Chris and I can have some great conversation, and that's what you can expect from us as we go through this episode. So, Chris, wait.
Let's talk about our Patreon supporters.
Okay. Let's talk about it. I was going to switch things up just to keep it fresh. And then I ran out of time. So the outline doesn't say how my mind said I had it laid out, but it's okay. Let's go on to our Patreon support. This episode is brought to you in part by our satisfied Patreon supporters like Mike Allen and William Schlimmer, who are our virtual producers, and Tom Byrne, Jeff Seiler, Johan Halberg, Tara Carlson, Chad Lamassa, Mark Church, Matt Knight, and Kirk Tabor, who want to buy us a virtual beer. And if you enjoy the content we provide, we invite you to support the show by toasting your host or buying us a virtual beer, or even becoming a virtual producer. You can explore the options on our support page by visiting patreon.com/tapthecraft. Okay, so let's get into some feedback from our last episode. Now, to recap, in case people don't remember what we talked about Black IPA. In that conversation, the Black IPA and the topic, it came up with the bad naming of a black and an IPA, meaning pale ale. It's an oxymoron. And then we had, other people wanted to change the name to Cascadian Dark Ale and how dumb that was. And then I carried on after that topic and talked about a little bit of a rant about maybe breweries should think about being more consumer friendly to people that aren't familiar with beer, that might understand things in a different way, like, just making it more simpler. And so I went on a little bit of a rant. Now, I'm not on a crusade necessarily to change it. I would just like to see breweries step away from traditional style categorizing and maybe go to something that's a little bit easier. And yeah, can it get crazy? And can you end up having beer styles that are just on a can that have 15 words? Of course you can. But you know what? You already have that on cans of beer that now they say it's a New England hazy double IPA with these 3 hops and this whatever, they already have a lot of descriptors on there. So you're not going to stop breweries from doing that no matter what. But I just thought, it might be easy. Well, guess what? Not everyone agreed with me. And our old buddy John Ream decided to write Chris and I a little email rant one morning, or not email, but a text message, thinking that Denny's gone crazy. Bonkers is the word he used. And you know what? Maybe I am bonkers, but I just thought it was funny that John sees no reason whatsoever, to change it. And, that's okay. Everyone has their own opinions. I just think that with the way that things are going with beer judging and competition and stuff, and people are entering all kinds of styles, that aren't really the style that they're entering it in just to be recognized, it really means nothing then, right? If you're brewing a beer that's through these style guidelines that are said this is the style it should be, yet it's brewed a different way that would normally be considered that way and getting credit for it. I don't want a cream ale that's a Helles lager, right? Helles lager should be winning cream ale competitions. That's it's a complete different beer.
Depends. Well, look, it just depends on how you brew it. If you brew it and it's not lining up with the style guidelines, well, you just enter it into a new category.
Yeah. But the other thing that's frustrating me is that everything is called IPA. I've listened to so many podcasts talk about brewers that said, you know what, they feel forced to put an IPA on there somewhere, no matter how stupid it looks, whether it's cold IPA or black New England IPA or whatever it is, right? They make a beer. If they don't have IPA on it, then it's not going to sell because people want IPAs. So it's a pale ale, and people are like, well, I don't want a pale ale, but I'll drink this session IPA. Then they'll call it a session IPA instead of a pale ale. It just or other styles. Like there's even been more bizarre ones that they go all the way off. It's a totally different beer, and they just add IPA, and people say, "Oh, this is great," even though it's nothing like an IPA. I don't know. I get tired of that. I want to see people just appreciate beer for what they want. If they want hoppy beers, they can go order a hoppy beer, and they know they're going to get something that's going to be, high in bitterness. If they want a high alcohol beer, and it's hoppy, hey, just say, I want a strong hoppy ale, and that's what they get.
Yeah, it's always nice to keep things simple, but I definitely get it.
That's okay, but he was the only one that complained, so I guess other people didn't. I thought I'd have more people that were calling me out on it, but no one wrote in but John.
That's also John's job.
Yeah. We also had a comment from Kyle Lilly. He went off, or he went and wanted to give his input on the naming for Black IPA. He thinks it should be India Black Ale. Okay, but again, the India name, it's not really going to India, right?
No.
But hey, India Black Ale, if people understand that IPA is India Pale Ale and they like IPAs, then maybe India Black Ale is, works too. It's all good.
Yeah.
And he also says he loves my rants. Okay. All right. And then one last feedback I'll give here from Matt Knight. He on Twitter, he posted a picture of a can of beer from 42 North called Hopography Series number 6. And this style that is in this Hopography Series number 6 beer is a black New England IPA. And he asked, have you ever heard of such a style? Now, me personally, I've never heard of a black New England IPA. Have you heard of a black New England IPA?
No.
Okay.
Because normal wouldn't it have to be hazy?
Yeah. How do you know it's hazy? Because you can't see through it.
This is starting to sound like a math question. If New England IPAs are hazy and black IPAs or Cascadian dark ales are dark, couldn't a black IPA be also a black New England IPA all at the same time? The answer is 6.
Yeah, that is. That's right. That's a math question.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It doesn't surprise me. I don't know. Again, New England IPA, as long as it has a citrus backbone to the hops, and it's got that smooth body, soft hop character, and it's black, that's fine. I don't know if just the fact it's black or if it also has roasty notes, how that plays into it, right? It becomes more like a black IPA, but it's New England style. So maybe it's, instead of using piney, it's using citrus hops, maybe. Yeah. That's possible.
As my favorite saying goes, Denny, only one way to find out.
That's right. Try it. So hopefully Matt drank it last night, and he'll be on the we'll be talking here in a few minutes. But before I get on to your segment, Chris, and we maybe learn from Matt how this beer is, if you would like to contact the show, we really enjoy having feedback and listener questions and just interacting with our listeners. So just write us an email. You can do that very easily. Just send it to tapthecraft@gmail.com. We also like to interact on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle is @tapthecraft. And of course, follow us on Facebook. We have a lot of people watching us live right now, and you can interact with us on Facebook and see some articles we're posting and see a lot more stuff going on. And of course, watch this video if you want to see us live at facebook.com/tapthecraft. And of course, we do have our own webpage at tapthecraft.com. All right, Chris, let's continue the conversation because now it's time to untap the craft and see what our listeners are drinking according to Untapped.
Certainly, we'll get into that. But you'd mentioned all the comments from our social media right now. Jeff Seiler said that there's a BP gas station in Silva, North Carolina, has an amazing beer selection. I'm pretty sure Silva is right outside of Asheville. Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong. And then my buddy Bill McElwain said he's also trying his first You're My Boy Blue, which is from Brew Buzz right here in Tampa. So Tom Burns says, let's collab on a hazy brute Cascadian Indian black lager.
Oh my gosh. I don't know what to say about that. That's
yes,
crazy.
You should say yes, right?
Yeah.
Look, if you don't like that specific one, Denny, try another.
Try another one. It might work with me, but yeah, that one, it's got that collab would be great because it's got a lot of things I enjoy in beer. I just don't know if I want to enjoy it all together. It might just be a little too much.
All right. Well, let's get into this. Let's get into our Untapped the Craft, guys. Remember, if you want to be featured on our Untapped the Craft segment, make sure you're following me on Untapped at MCK1345, and we'll read your check-ins if you check in within 24 hours of our recording. So, speaking of Mr. Matt Knight, guess what? He's drinking a Hopography Series 006 by 42 North Brewing Company. That's the exact beer that you were just talking about, Denny.
Okay, good.
So Matt writes, a lot of flavors here. Malty, hoppy pine, and some hints of coffee and chocolate. Flavors are well balanced without too much of one flavor smacking you in the face. Different, but good. Can says it's a black New England IPA. He gave it 4 1/4 caps for that beer. So
he liked it.
Yeah, and it does. There's a picture on Untapped. It says black New England IPA. Looks hazy AF if you want to look at it that way.
But he said it again. He said it was piney, and he said the chocolate roasty notes.
All right.
So I can maybe take some roasty notes, but it really has to be more citrusy or at least tropical.
Yeah.
I mean, some other flavor than pine to make it New England style.
Yeah. Tom Byrne also mentioned, hey, that Hazy Brute Cascadian Indian Black Lager, they also have to have a barrel-aged variant of it as well. And
of course,
get some coffee variants, get some fruit variants. I'm with you, Tom. Let's see what we can put together. So guys, we had a ton of check-ins. I don't know if everybody's just
drinking
having a great Sunday into Monday, but we'll get into the best of the best. Kevin Page is drinking a Caribbean Love Tap by Arcane Ale Works, and he said yesterday Jen couldn't finish her pour. Works for me. 4 1/4 caps for that beer. Next on the list, I want to read this one because I don't hear his name too often. Buck Buchanan is drinking a 30A Beach Blonde Ale by the Grayton Beer Company, which... Wait, where is my button? There, I needed to check that button. By the Grayton Beer Company. He gave it 3 3/4 caps for this beer. But in his picture, there are palm trees in that picture. Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. We're stalking you a little bit, Buck. So
he's on vacation.
Good. I hope he's enjoying vacation.
Yeah, good.
Slinging beer for so long, you got to take a break. That's what we did today. Let's see. Moving on to the next one. Kevin Page is drinking a Fatter Clouds by Arcane Ale Works. Can't say it dethrones its baby brother, he says, but it's damn fine and only the slightest hint of maltiness on the back end. 4 1/2 caps for that beer. Let's see. Going up the list. Will D is drinking a Void Shaker. I haven't read this brewery in a long time either. By Funky Buddha Brewery.
Oh, wow. They fell out of favor with you.
Extremely.
A while back.
4 caps. He just writes simply well played. Their Void Shaker, if I remember correctly, is an Imperial Stout that they do a barrel age treatment of, a Russian Imperial Stout. It doesn't say it's barrel aged, but a Russian Imperial Stout gets about a 4 cap rating, is what he rated it. I got a few check-ins from the Gnarly Gnome. No
ratings.
No
though,
ratings,
right?
right? Just and it's just a copy paste. He's just catching up from this weekend. I'm bad at checking things in, but checking in from Nostalgia Brewing, Two Tones Brewing, Antiques on High is I would imagine a store. Land Grant Brewing. So he's got it in a few places that he's been checking in. Some Brewdog beer. Taft's Brewing Company, so he's got a few things in there. Jeff Seiler is drinking a Gumball Head by Three Floyds Brewing Company. And he wrote that this was a bucket list beer, and it's delicious. Light, mildly sweet, and citrusy with a light bitter finish. I have a new favorite wheat beer. Thanks, Marlo. 4 1/4 caps for that beer. And of course, as always, Jeff will always. He seems to drink out of everything out of his B cups. So good for him. Continuing his check-in streak for the 6,000th show in a row, Chad Lamassa is drinking a La Misma Vaca, something about a cow, La Misma Vaca by Saints Row Brewing. Another weekend brewery visit, another Crowler pickup. Nice, nutty brown ale with some notes of vanilla and chocolate. 4 1/2 cap rating for that beer. Checking out Saints Row Brewing. Chad, where's that? Let's see. Some Burial Beer being checked in by Mike Allen. Mike's been in the Asheville area, if I remember correctly. He had the Metallic Vessels 2021 by Burial. The coffee is subtle at first, but it blends nicely with the dark, rich, malty backbone. Mikey likey, 4 1/4 caps for that beer. Moving on up the list. Let's see. We had a ton of them in here. Eric Gronley drinking a Honeybird Blonde Ale by Flyway Brewing. It's rounded and very smooth. The honey floral sweetness up front is tasty, and there's a nice crisp finish. True to style and well done. 4 cap rating for that one. Got to read this one too. Jeff Seiler drinking Lunch by Maine Beer Company.
Yeah. What do you rate that one?
4 1/2 caps.
Oh, nice.
And well-deserved. Got this on draft. Love this beer. Old school deliciousness, piney and fruity. Yeah, I love that beer too. He said with a yummy bitter finish. 4 1/2 caps on that one. Good for you, Jeff. It looks like you got that in a 32-ounce growler, if I'm seeing that picture correctly.
Nice.
So good for him. Ryan Whedon is drinking a Pampered Palate Juicy Triple IPA. I used to work at a restaurant called the Pampered Palate in Maryland. Didn't last very long. And a 4 cap rating on this one, no notes. But this is by the O'Connor Brewing Company. And then scroll on up some more. Chew Your Beer, or, Robert, as we actually know him, but Chew Your Beer. Oh, I'm excited to see that you got some of this. He's drinking That IPA Show by Three Sons Brewing Company, which is right here in the state of Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Three Sons is down towards the Miami area, which is kind of cool to see that he's getting it all the way out there somehow. Probably trading, but hey, who knows? What a hazy should be. 100% 4 3/4 caps for this beer. He said he purchased it at a place called the Bottle Shop, so I don't know.
Wow.
That'd be kind of cool. And
that's some good distribution right there.
All
the way to California.
Maybe he just picked it. Maybe just, like I do, because the last check-in I had today was at a nude beach. So, but the Bottle Shop is located in Sylmar, California. So I don't know how accurate that is, but
that's where he lives.
Yeah, you never know. Stephen Brown is drinking something from Corporate Ladder. What's that stand for? GF Banana Beach. What's GF stand for?
Gluten-free? I don't know.
Really? I wouldn't think.
I don't think he'd be making gluten-free beers, is he?
I don't think so. Oh, it is. It's a gluten-free sour. Go back.
Wow.
Gluten-free sour with banana and peaches. Check that out. Steven rated this 5 caps for a gluten-free beer.
There you go. Way to go, Corporate Ladder.
Damn, Blake. But yeah, checking in. Thanks, Steven, for that check-in. Steven also just inspected my house a couple weeks ago.
Wait a minute. You got the inspector of your house to join us on the on Untapped and
look,
and
we've been talking about Steven for a very long time. He just happens to own a home inspection company.
Oh, okay.
And not only did I pay him in monies, I also paid him with some Jackie O's beer too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. A little beer trading.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Good.
you know, when I can get good advice on homes and stuff, I mean, it helps. All right, moving along. Chad Lamassa is drinking I like this, Chad. This is cool. He's drinking a Cicada by True Respite Brewing Company. Now, Denny, do you guys have the cicada thing going on around you?
No, we don't have cicadas here. We have the Mormon crickets that come every 7 years or whatever.
Okay.
And they were here last year, so I think we're safe.
So yeah, I think we're starting to see some of them around here too. Not really anything bad. I can remember the last time that they showed up in Maryland, 17 years ago. I remember driving in the parking lot of a nearby mall, and it looked like just TV static. You remember the black and white TV static? That's what it looked like around the parking lot lights. It just looked like TV static. It was insane.
We had in 1981, I think it was, when I was living in Albuquerque, New Mexico, they had a cicada swarm come through at that time. So I remember, how rough it was. Like you said, it looks like you just see all these.
Oh my goodness.
Flickering.
And granted, from us specifically, Tara Carlson said that cicadas avoid southern Maryland. Well, hey, good for you. I wish they'd avoid central Florida. But I don't remember them really causing any issue. Like they were here, they were annoying because they were everywhere.
Yeah. They make a mess, and then the cleanup afterwards was a pain. Okay. I remember like mowing them up in the grass and stuff. It was crazy.
That's free fertilizer. I don't want to hear it. He said he wanted to just check in again to share the cool can art by the awesome Spicy Mustard Designs, which I'm not familiar with those guys. But they're the ones that do a lot of True Respite's artwork, and True Respite does some pretty cool artwork. I have, I think, 2 of their labels on magnets stuck to my beer fridge right now. So they do some really cool stuff. Moving on up the list, Matt Strong. Speaking of Northern Maryland, Matt Strong is drinking a Hippie Trap by Union Craft Brewing. He gave that 4 1/4 caps. Matt is the owner of Sit Means Sit in Northern Baltimore. So right by you, Chad, if you need your dog trained. There's a couple of check-ins from me, and we're going to talk about my beers here in a little bit. Keep on scrolling. Tara Carlson is drinking a Lost in the Mist by Idiom Brewing Company. Some days you just need a double IPA. Today is that day. What's it say on the bottom?
It says canned 11/15/2020. Pinkies out. Pinkies out.
Okay.
Fancy papers.
She said it's a little sharp, but it has been in the fridge for a while. So Lost in the Mist from Idiom Brewing Company. 3 3/4 caps for that beer. Also moving up, Florida Steve is drinking a Slam Dunkel by Tivoli Brewing Company. He's drinking that at the Untapped at home check-in, and he wrote nice caramel notes, and I hit refresh before I stopped reading. Like an idiot.
Wow, what a noob.
No, yeah, right. Nice caramel notes from the malt. Pretty easy drinking. Not bad. So I meant to hit the refresh button, but the Facebook bookmark is right under my refresh button, so it took me to Facebook.
Okay.
Great. And let's see. One more from Buck. So he's got 2 check-ins here. Divide and Conquer by Idle Hounds Brewing Company at the Brass Tap. He said, not a chance it's 100 IBUs, probably more like 45, or this IPA is old. I don't know. My guess, Buck, is that it's old.
It's probably old.
If it's at the Brass Tap, it's probably old.
Oh.
Just my inside kind of information. Anyway, and he's also drinking a Salt Life Lager by Salt Life Beverage Company at the Brass Tap. just needs a little salt and lime. He says 4 cap rating for that beer, and that was 4 minutes ago. So, and then a little bit of information from Jeff Seiler. You can eat cicadas. Saw some entomologists on TV who made chocolate cicada cookies. Yum.
No. Too crunchy for me, I think.
So we were talking about chocolate and sauerkraut cupcakes the other day.
Yeah, but they don't have crusty wing shell things. I don't know if I want to eat a cicada. Sorry.
That sounds delicious, Jeff. Let's give it a whirl. You go ahead and try it. If you like them, then I'll eat one.
I mean, I have eaten a chocolate grasshopper. And only because it was covered in so maybe it would be okay, because if it's covered in chocolate, it's not so bad. But
all right,
I don't know.
Right.
It's not my thing. I'll pass.
Well, that is what everybody is drinking today, Denny.
Wow, that was quite a list, Chris. I think we spent like 12 minutes going through that, but that's okay. We had a lot of good conversation in there too, chatting about these different unique beers everyone's drinking. I appreciate that. But now it's time for the Brew Buzz. And the Brew Buzz is devoted to discussing various beer-related topics. And this week, we discuss why IPAs are so popular. And again, this was brought to my attention as a possible topic by our great listener, Jeff Seiler, who is watching us live on Facebook Live and interacting with us. And this is one of the things he brought out. At the end of the show, I might go ahead and read a couple other things that we might want to get listener participation in to help us with a topic, because he has a lot of interesting ideas, but I don't know if Chris and I can pull it off alone. We might need some help.
That's okay. We can always get help.
We can get help. So I pretty much took all this information from 2 really well done articles that were spaced out a few years apart. The first one, and they're both from craftbeer.com. So it's the Brewers Association website in their editorial section, the Muses, I think Beer Muses section. And the first one is, why is IPA so popular? Well, that's exactly what we asked, right? And this was by Andy Sparhawk. And then he did recently, just a month or 2 ago, I think, or maybe it was earlier in the year, he kind of did another article based on it. Says, why are IPAs still so popular? And again, by Andy Sparhawk. So I will have these links in the show notes where you can go and get the articles in full length if you want to read more about it. But we're going to talk a lot of content. I've intermixed the 2 articles to kind of flow into a certain outline of what we're going to talk about. So I'll list that outline right now. So there's basically 4 reasons why IPA is so popular. And in his article, he lists another article that he read and talked to the writer. The problem is that article is not available anymore, so I couldn't go and reference it directly. So a lot of the stuff here he'll be referencing some of the stuff that this guy said. And these 4 reasons is pretty much summarizing the 4 reasons that this other article gave as well. So the 4 reasons why IPAs are so popular: 1, they taste good. 2, they're advanced, in quotes. 3, they have lots of flavor. And 4, science. So I thought these were great points to go through and find out exactly why people are attracted to IPAs so much. So first off, they taste good. Now, Chris, I'll go ahead and start with the first section. I'll let you go to the next section, and we'll just go back and forth, okay? So why they taste so good? Taste and flavor. It might interest you to know that they are not quite the same thing. Along with sight, smell, touch, and hearing, taste is one of our 5 senses. Our taste buds recognize sweet, salty, sour, umami, and bitter. Bitter is certainly a major factor when tasting an IPA, as the style employs an increased amount of hops, which can add to what is often described as evident, bracing, and even aggressive bitterness. Since everyone has slightly different tastes, what may be evident bitterness to one craft beer drinker may be bracing to another. And I think this is a good point. Everyone has a different sensitivity to bitterness. Some like myself, I really like bitter things. And other people, like my wife, they don't like bitter things. Although she likes IPAs, but she doesn't like, I drink my coffee black, nothing in it. I like coffee for the flavor and the bitterness. It doesn't scare me. And I enjoy even harsher bitterness in my coffee. But my wife doesn't like coffee that is bitter. She likes her coffee that is sweet and, milky and, more dainty. Which is fine. And everyone has, different appreciation. Now, it's funny because I always give her a bad time that she only likes IPAs that are like strong West Coast. I mean, she likes other IPAs, but the ones she likes the best are strong West Coast, piney, hopped bitterness. And she wants that bitter finish. But she doesn't like bitter beer. Okay. It doesn't make any sense to me, but that's okay. So that's something to keep in mind is that what a lot of beer drinkers, especially when they first start out, if they're not used to the bitterness, that may be overwhelming for them. And it's not until they get more accustomed to enjoy, to being familiar with that bitterness that they'll be able to embrace it and realize that it's not as overbearing as they might have once thought. And that, honestly, I was one of those people. I know it's hard to believe, but back in the early 90s, I enjoyed what was then Red Hook's ESB, extra special bitter. And back then it had a bitter finish. And coming off of being mostly a domestic lager drinker, the regular Budweisers and Millers and such, going to something that's bitter was a little bit overwhelming. And at first I didn't like it, but I did appreciate the Red Hook because it was smoother than some other things that might have been a little bit more bitter. And then I learned to appreciate that bitterness and really enjoy IPAs as it got to the later 90s. So it only took a few years before I started really finding beers that had a slight bitterness that I could really appreciate, and then going into the ones that had that severe bitterness that I really was searching after. So, all right, Chris, why don't you go to the next section?
All right. So IPAs have lots of flavor. You didn't get into that one, right? I'm sorry. I was trying to respond to something.
You're right. That's where you're at. IPAs have lots of flavor.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. While taste is one of our five senses, flavor is considered a synthetic taste or a synthetic sense, where a mix of stimuli come together and our brain works to recognize, record, and recount a certain flavor. Taste plays a role in flavor, but all the other senses work in cooperation to create flavor too. Mm-hmm. When you drink an IPA, you experience a lot of different components, but your taste buds can really only tell you if what you're experiencing is sweet, bitter, sour, salty, or umami. In this case, there might be some sweet and bitter, but when the taste of an IPA is paired with the aroma and golden color, you sense flavors like grapefruit, pine, roses, etc. So really cool part about kind of flavor and utilizing senses and things like that. A lot of the flavors that we taste come specifically from our nose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Our olfactory senses. So being able to taste things, like they said in that part of the article, is, hey, you've got 4 or 5 really tastes, but when you can combine the way that your nose and your brain works, you can taste a whole lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the key, is that it's not, like as the article said, as Chris mentioned, it's more than just the tongue, right? Mm-hmm. It's your nose, it's a combination of both. You're getting those aromas in, stimulating those sensories, and then you're tasting it, and your tongue might get that bitterness, right? But your nose isn't going to get the bitterness. Your nose is going to get the other aromas. That's going to, you have a bitter flavor, but you're going to have it defined as grapefruit with the flavor, with aromas that are coming out with it, or pine with the piney aromas coming off it. So you really need both. If you don't have both, you're just going to have bitter, right? Tongue going to say bitter, bitter, bitter. That's not going to help me. So that's why we always say, if you really want to enjoy good quality craft beer, drink it in a glass, because when you drink it in glass, your nose is right there in the top of that glass. While you're drinking it, your nose is taking in air and you're getting all that aroma and you're enhancing the experience. That's what you really want to do.
Yep.
All right, Chris, I'm going to read the first two paragraphs. You can read the next two. Is that good?
Yep.
Okay. So now comes the fun part. IPAs are, quote, advanced. What does that mean? Well, let's find out what this means. While bitterness of an IPA has a lot to do with a person's individual perception, we also know that taste can change over time. Ding. Exactly. You may not have enjoyed the first highly hopped IPA you tried, but over time, perhaps you grew to really enjoy a bracingly bitter IPA, or not. That's okay too. So it's okay that you like it or not. I already told you that when I first started having bitter beer, I didn't like it. It had to grow on me, right? So, I'm no different than anyone else that tries it. Most people don't like it when they first try it. Human taste is pre-wired from the time you were born. For example, innately, we like the taste of sweet things as children, but perhaps do not like to take the taste of sour or bitter flavors right away. But as we grow up and try new things, our brain figures out that not all sour and bitter flavors are bad. Such is the case with IPAs. Yeah, it's a good analogy there, right? Because, I mean, that's how you're taught at a young age that something's bad, right? You put it in your mouth, it's bitter, spit it out, right? It's not good. So as a child, it's bred into you that bitter is bad. And this is all part of the, now I can't remember if I actually wrote this in. Oh yeah, never mind. I'm not going to explain it because Chris, go ahead and explain why this is so.
Why this is so. Before I do that, I'm about to crack open a new beer.
Oh, what do you got?
This is
a Black Panther.
You know what? I wish this was not a shrink wrapped label, because this is definitely one I would like to keep. But this is a coffee porter from Burial in Asheville, and I don't know, the beginning is after the end is what it's called.
Oh, I've heard of that beer before.
Yeah.
No, someone else has had that beer before.
Who just had that beer?
I don't know, but I remember reading about it. Yeah.
All right. Well,
no, it's okay. But while you're cracking that open, your buddy Bill, he says, "Do you remember your first IPA?" So I do remember my first IPA.
I hated it,
and it wasn't at that time called an IPA. This is back in probably 98, if I remember correctly. It's when Full Sail Brewing in Hood River, Oregon. They celebrated their 10th year anniversary. I think it was 98, 99, somewhere around there. And they brewed a beer, which I always get it wrong. I want to say Extra Special Pale, but I think it was I think it was called, I don't know, I always get the name right, but Extra Special Pale. Basically what it was a pale ale that was highly hopped. And again, they're celebrating their 10th year anniversary, so they want to do something special. That was really bitter and really hopped. When I first had it, by this time I'd already had other bitter beers that I was getting used to, and I fell in love with it because it shocked me.
Was it very special pale?
Very special pale. Yeah, VSP. Thank you. Very special pale. And it's basically an IPA before they had IPA. Yeah, that one right there, that label. Yeah, that coaster. So now they're calling it a golden ale, but it was a highly hopped, very bitter pale ale. Lots of piney bitterness that you got used to with the West Coast style IPAs. And I just fell in love with it. And I bought 6-pack after 6-pack after 6-pack. And what was cool is they didn't just release this beer one time for their 10th anniversary. They released it like 2 years later. They kept releasing the beer. And it was still called their 10th anniversary beer, but they released it for like 2 years longer. And I just bought every time at the store, I bought another 6-pack. And I just drank that beer nonstop. I really loved it. So that was my first IPA. I'm using quotes because it wasn't called an IPA, but it was called a very special pale ale. How about you, Chris?
I can tell you my first one, hated it. Kind of like Jeff Seiler. Jeff Seiler said, I remember the first IPA that I liked. It was Founders Centennial IPA. Before that, I hated IPAs.
Oh, wow. This is coming from the guy that loves IPAs now.
Yeah, Jim Kudzall said mine was Ballantine IPA at the tasting room of Narragansett Brewery in Cranston, Rhode Island. The year was 1974.
Wow, I didn't know they had IPAs in the States back then.
Neither did I.
Jim. So come on, that's
That's
Jim's got us beat because his craft beer journey was, basically 20 years before mine.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good. That's great.
Yeah, that's cool to see. Specifically, specifically, well, thank you. What mine was, I have really no idea. I mean, if I had to
Dogfish Head, right?
Yeah, you know what?
Maybe?
It probably would have been if I'm going to look at a American IPA. I mean, that's the funny thing. I remember that transition from IPAs are gross to these are starting to get pretty good, and to IPA, yeah, if it's fresh, I'll drink it. So it's kind of really cool to see that, because we're talking about the taste and everything. Kind of looking back, if I sorted my American IPAs in Untapped, just kind of scrolling through 140 or 80 of them or whatever it is, just kind of looking at them and going, okay, well, the Rustler IPA from Payette Brewing Company, I've had that one.
Did I send that to you, or did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, wait a minute. I don't remember them getting out your way, but okay, good.
Or when Sierra Nevada did their whole beer camp thing back in 2016.
Oh, yeah.
They had a beer camp tropical IPA, which I gave a 4-cap rating to. The Sculpin stuff, all that stuff from Ballast Point that came out. Fatheads in Ohio, they were probably some of my first couple of IPAs that I started liking. If I was to look at even Bell's Two Hearted, when I tried that first one in 2015, I still rated that a 4-cap rating. So I know that Bell's Two Hearted, especially for someone just kind of jumping into the whole beer world. Oh, here they are. They're starting to show up and they're starting to look familiar. Those are some big beers, right? If you're jumping into something like that. But things like Breck IPA from Breckenridge Brewing, which I don't think exists anymore.
No, Breckenridge.
Was it Breck? Oh no, was it Boulder Beer? Boulder Beer.
Yeah, Boulder Beer's gone. Yeah, but Breckenridge is still.
Yeah, I had their Moho IPA, Boulder Beer's Moho IPA, which I only rated 3 1/4 caps, but it may not have been the freshest. So, Wobble IPA from Two Brothers. Yep, that was actually it. Wobble IPA from Two Brothers Brewing Company, which I think they're out of Pennsylvania. This was one of the beers that my brother-in-law gave me. He was like, look, if you don't like IPAs, just try this one. Which he's the one that led me down the path of that whole, Two Brothers is based out of Warrenville, Illinois. But he's the guy that basically taught me the whole, hey, look, if you don't like a specific style, just keep trying the beers. You'll find one that you do like. But that was that one. And Long Trail, their Limbo IPA, which Long Trail, I wish we got more of it here. They're a New England based brewery, but all kinds of different stuff. I mean, and Bill, to answer your question about Sierra Nevada, yes, Sierra Nevada, I mean, that's always a solid one, whether it's their pale ale. If you're trying to get someone into IPAs, get them a fresh one of those, and that's a good start, in my opinion. Or their what was the other one that they had? They had a Torpedo. Yeah,
they have Torpedo, but I don't think I would recommend that for someone new.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, but the pale ale for sure it's definitely one. But if you were, I don't know if Bill's asking, do we prefer Sierra Nevada or Arrogant Bastard? So it's Sierra Nevada or Stone. Stone's Arrogant Bastard is a strong ale and it is one of my favorite beers still to this day.
Yeah.
Even though I've steered away from Stone in the last few years, I still will go and buy an Arrogant Bastard beer and drink it just because it was an important time in my craft beer journey where I really appreciated that at that time that the brewery was coming out and being bold and saying, hey, this is a beer that's going to knock you on your butt if you aren't prepared for it. And that's what I appreciated. And you know what? That beer would knock you on your butt. And I appreciated it. I really loved this beer, and I still enjoy this beer, even though I think the way the brewery is going is up down has been going down a wrong road.
Yeah.
That's that's the management thing that I think they should have done some other stuff. But
Oh.
that beer is still good.
Yeah, he was trying to guess if one of those was my first IPAs.
Oh,
Yeah.
Probably Sierra Nevada but it's a pale ale, so it's not really.
Yeah. So, and my beer journey specifically is, so I think it's nice because we went and had some, we had to go talk with our bank about we were just checking over some finances and stuff with our business, and the guy that I was dealing with, the business banker and the branch manager, we were talking about something, and we got onto the topic of beer, and he was like, yeah, I went to Publix and I grabbed 2 6-packs, one of this kind of beer and one of this kind of beer, and he goes, I hated them both. I took 2 sips out of the first can, threw the whole thing away. Did the same thing with the other one. And I said, well, what did you get? And he goes, well, I tried IPA, but IPA wasn't really good. And I was like, well, do you like bitter and citrusy and things like that? And he goes, no, I kind of like more sweet stuff. I was like, oh, okay. I said, well, look, if you ever want to go shopping for beer again, don't buy IPAs from a grocery store. Well, and we got into a whole conversation about why you shouldn't. But kind of, I told him, I said, look, go into a brewery and tell them you're brand new into beer and they'll help you. And he goes, they'll help you? I said, yeah, they will help you. Tell them you're brand new into beer. You have no clue where to start. And you want to try some good stuff. And he was like, they'll seriously help you. I'm like, you have no idea. If you have the right bartender in there, that will make their day. Right.
Well, and of course, then you said, and listen to this podcast. This will help you along your craft beer journey.
2 of our cards.
Okay. I need to send you more cards then, right?
No, I still have a handful of them left.
All right. Excellent.
So,
all right, Chris, you ready to continue on?
Yep. So experts believe that our sense of taste helped ancient humans choose what types of things were good to eat. Mm-hmm. To the human mind, a sweet taste translates to calories and energy, which is good for a hungry little hunter-gatherer. However, sour tastes may mean that food has become rancid or is potentially poisonous. Mm-hmm. Bitterness in beer is not bad and actually provides a refreshing balance. Wouldn't beer be boring if it was just sugary sweet?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So perhaps enjoying an IPA does signify a state of advanced beer appreciation. Being able to sense not just the bitterness of an IPA, but the more nuanced contributions hops add to a beer, such as aroma and flavor, happens over time. In a nutshell, beer drinkers are not pre-wired to like IPAs. You learn to like them. So in a weird way, it can be a craft beer badge of honor to order one.
Yeah. And that is true, right? And I think this plays in part to a lot of people that go out with their friends that are more, they're more versed with craft beer. They know what craft beer is. They're confident when they go up and they order what they want. They go there and these people are ordering beers and then you're new to craft beer and you don't really know about the different styles. Then you're going to go and follow suit with whatever they're going to buy. And it looks good when they say, give me that double IPA or that, hey, that triple IPA, I want that. Or that quadruple IPA, 15%. Yeah, bring that to me. I want it. And they're going to go and follow suit, even though they're going to not really appreciate it or enjoy it. They don't want to look like they're, they don't know what they're doing, and they're less of a beer drinker because they don't understand the different styles. And again, that's one of the reasons why I created this podcast, is to help people not feel that way, right? Mm-hmm. We want to help people be confident and understand what they're getting into, and they can go to a brewery or a pub and say, you know what, I really want to try this Saison. Mm-hmm. And guess what? That Saison is nothing like an IPA. And if you like it, then good for you. Go order something that you're going to appreciate and not something that you feel like you have to because you want to feel like you're not like, a lower person that doesn't know anything about craft beer.
I think one of the best questions that I think people can ask, especially just getting new into craft beer, is not even a question, just hey, this is what I'm normally drinking. Do you have
Mhm.
something similar?
Yeah. Or like you said, this is what I'm drinking now. I want to branch out and try something a little bit more advanced. What can you help me with? And then they can drive you from whatever that is to something that might be slightly different from what you're currently drinking, but similar enough that you don't feel like it's too much, right? That's the key, right? You want to advance in slow baby steps, not go from 0 to 150, right? That's a big jump. Go small baby steps and you'll enjoy that journey a lot better.
Yeah, certainly. Get yourself a beer friend. And if you don't have any beer friends,
exactly. Yeah.
Give me a call.
Yeah. All right, Chris, I'm going to go ahead and read this next section plus, 1 or 2 paragraphs next, and you can finish it out. Is that good?
Yep.
All right. Science. Yes. The art of science. Each drinker's personal taste is as unique as the fingerprints on their condensation covered glass. It's totally subjective. What one may like about the flavor in IPA may be different from what another may or may not like about the style. I love IPAs, but do I love every IPA I try? Not necessarily. Science is certainly a major player in the IPA discussion, from hop variety development or from hop variety development all the way to personal flavor perception. This is especially important now when IPA is not just a singular style. IPA is hazy, black, New England, juicy. There's all kinds of different brute, cold. There's all kinds of different things going on. And each of those processes are done a little bit differently and will give you a different characteristic that you may or may not like in that IPA. I'm telling you right now, I'm almost done with this fancy papers. This is a beer that I think a lot of people that don't like IPAs could easily grab a pint of this, drink it, and realize, wow, IPAs aren't that bad, right? Mm-hmm. It's got hoppy character where you get those flavors. It's got a decent malt base to it also, which is nice. It's almost like a pale ale. And I think that it's a good transition from more sweet lagers to more bitter IPAs without going straight from one to the other. And that's what the science is all about, is that these processes do different things. Not all IPAs are the same. West Coast are not New England IPAs. Brute is not a cold IPA, right? I mean, they're different. They're whole different beasts, but they all have that IPA name because the processes are different. They're using different yeast. They're different biotransformations that are going on with the yeast that they're using, with the hops they're using, and the temperatures, and when they're putting them into the whole process. It all plays into how that IPA is going to be defined and turn out. And so you can't just see IPA and say that IPA I don't like, because there's a wide window from a IPA that's more closer to regular ales, and then ones that are closer to the old school IPAs that people don't like. So there's a big transition between, and really the science defines how that whole curve occurs. All right. So now there's some other interesting insights that I gathered from these articles I wanted to kind of spell out here. So I'll read a couple of these and then I'll let Chris finish us off. Other interesting insights. One of the reasons that IPA has gained favor seems obvious. More breweries, like the most ever, are making them, offering them to consumers, and more consumers who come of age with an awareness of flavors that IPAs possess, which is flavors being one of them, are the reasons for IPA's popularity. Though it wasn't long ago that America did not really have flavor. Now, this is going into the history of America with flavor. Bread was white. Coffee was only available in crystals. Could you imagine?
Sanka.
Oh, yeah. Only having freeze-dried coffee. I mean, if that was the case, that we still only had freeze-dried coffee, I would be hating coffee, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy grinding my bean and brewing my coffee and having that bold flavor. And crystals just don't give me that flavor I want. I mean, maybe Folgers does, but not for me. And beer was bland. And yeah, beer was bland back then, right? It didn't have a lot of stuff going on. It was made a certain way. Over time, the United States has become more aware of flavors, and the country's craft beer is a part of our food identity. New beer drinkers are used to bold flavors. IPAs are bold. They're mysterious. They may be more prevalent than ever, but IPAs aren't status quo, while they still may be all the things that newcomers to craft beer. I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to finish this beer, but let me finish this sentence and then I'll finish the beer. Okay. While they still may be all those things to newcomers to craft beer, to the everyday craft beer enthusiast, the IPA is the old standby. It is also a safe pick when you don't know what else to choose. All right. I agree.
Yeah. It's funny, but in the adult schoolyard known as a tap room, that's such a good analogy, where your choice of beverage might seem scrutinized, a beer geek with a lack of confidence can order an IPA with confidence instead of shielding their voice when ordering a Hefeweizen. So the other beer geeks can't hear. You can't go wrong ordering an IPA in front of your buds. It shows you know about beer. It shows you're advanced from you've advanced from yellow fizzy lager. And IPAs can represent an advanced knowledge of beer or a refined palate. But with the caveat, IPAs are popular because they're advanced, but not the most advanced.
Exactly. And that's a good point.
It is, but it isn't. Yeah, it's a very good point. If you think about that they are advanced kind of beers, but
yeah, think of some of the sour beers that are being brewed now. Think of some of the Belgian beers. I mean, Belgian beers go back for a long time before IPAs, yet some of those styles are very, I mean, maybe they're not advanced, but they seem advanced because the flavors are so complex and so wonderful. Even going back to our Kvike yeast topic that we talked about, those are farmhouse ales brewed from wild fermentation of this Kvike yeast, yet they're very complex and very advanced as far as flavor wise compared to what we get in more cleaner beers, right? And so there's a lot of, it's a good statement. I like that statement.
Yeah, I do too. IPA is not the pinnacle of craft status. The best part about its popularity is that there are still things to experience, to learn, to appreciate about all beer. IPAs represent a range of beers that are very obvious. We are sensitive to bitterness and we recognize bold citrusy flavors. It's like studying surrealism. I just went to the Dali Museum the other day.
I know. I left this in for you. That's why I wanted you to read this part.
This style of art leaves no doubt about what the artist was trying to paint, but that's not the only style of art.
Yeah. I thought this was, I almost cut this out, but then I thought it does. It kind of makes sense, right? It's not real. It's surreal. It's, you feel like you understand it, but you don't really understand it.
Yeah. And we'll finish it. And we'll finish the story with this last couple of sentences. That IPA is surrealist art. The artist paints and you see exactly what they want to express. Master your understanding of surrealist IPAs and it will help you understand the more abstract styles and appreciate what they have to offer. That right there, if you can take that and translate that into a lot of other beers. My buddy Art Warchek, who's the beer buyer at the grocery store where I used to frequent when I wanted to go grocery shopping. He'd always told me, I'd try beers. He'd be like, "Oh man, you got to try this one." And he'd pour me a little taster and be like, "Here, give this one a whirl." And I was like, no, it's not really good. He's like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah, look, it's just not kind of up my alley." And he said, "Well, look, here's what I want you to do." He goes, "I want you to take another sip of the beer." And he goes, "I want you to try to pick out the flavors in it. Don't try to take it and drink it and go, okay, it's good or bad. Try to drink it, let it sit on your tongue, breathe a little bit, let it, try to pick out that, whether it's that mango, whether it's that, whether it's that, what do we always call like the horse blanket, in certain,
like the bread
beers.
characteristics,
Right.
just like farmyard or barnyard characters.
Yeah. Or you'd be like, see what flavors you can pick out. And that was a huge kind of transition of me just going from beer and going, oh, it's good or it's bad, to, okay, what flavors can I pick out of here? Like, for example, this coffee porter that I'm drinking, it's exactly that, coffee and a porter. There's nothing special about it. It's good. I'll say that. There's nothing in there where it's got a cool name and cool label art, but it's not something where you're like, it's got this and barrel aged and this and vanilla and cinnamon and all that. It's simple. It's beer flavored beer. It's definitely coffee. There's definitely a little roast to it. And it's cool because you can pick out a lot of little flavors in there. There's chocolate in there. There's definitely some roastiness in there, or just under being burnt flavors from that coffee, right?
Yeah.
So take your time and taste your beer.
Yeah. Enjoy it. Well, that is why IPA is so popular. We just told you why it's popular. Why don't you give us feedback and tell us why it's so popular with you? Did some of these items, really resonate with you, and you understand that? Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Let us know. We'd love to read your comments and questions and feedback on the show for our next episode. All right, Chris. Now it is time for our new and noteworthy beers. And I'm going to go ahead. You just got done reading a paragraph. I'll go ahead and go through mine. I have, I think, five beers. I had a good 2 weeks where I had a lot of good beers. I'm going to start off. I'll go quick because I want to kind of get this done in about an hour and a half. So we're right on track.
We're
right there. So Cascade Brewing out of Oregon, Portland, Oregon. They make strictly like pretty much sour beers. And this is a beer that I've had in my fridge for quite a while because I got this for Easter from my wife. My wife likes to put together a little Easter beer basket for me for Easter. I really appreciate it.
It's the real Easter bunny.
Yeah. So she put this in there, but I've mentioned in the past that I have to really watch how, when I drink sours and how it reacts with me, because as I've gotten older, my gut doesn't appreciate sour beers as much as I appreciate them. My mouth likes them. My gut, not so much. So I try to drink them when I know I haven't eaten anything, when my whole system is in check and I'm like, yeah, this is a good time. I'll go ahead and I'll pop it open and I'll drink it. And a couple of weeks ago was that time. And this beer is called their Honey Ginger Lime. It's a fruited sour. And I gave this beer a 5-cap rating because this hit everything that I love in a good quality sour. Now, if you listen to the podcast, I'm a huge fan of ginger. I love ginger. I'm a ginger freak. I like lime. Ginger lime is a good, sour. I don't know, ginger's not really sour, but it's like a compliment, right? The sour of the lime and the ginger heat.
Yeah.
Kind of
spice,
into it. So what I wrote on Untapped is, wow, the aroma is incredible. And the aroma was incredible. You could smell the ginger, you could smell the lime. It just was in your face and wow, I'm in heaven. Ginger and lime on the nose, follows right into the flavor with a serious tart backing, but also enough sweetness to balance it out. Really enjoying this one. 5-cap rating. There was nothing about this beer that was negative, and that's why I gave it a 5. I didn't have any acidic burn. I had a serious tartness because that lime did give us the tart, but the ginger, I think, mellowed it out, and it finished it cut off that tartness right away, and it just was a well done beer. So definitely a 5-cap rating. So if you can get this beer, it's definitely a recommended beer from me.
I wonder if that ginger helped out with kind of processing it.
Maybe, yeah, because ginger is good for my system. I do eat a lot of dried ginger. Like when I know that I'm eating something that's going to maybe upset my stomach, we have ginger cubes that I just go and pop, and I'll just eat those ginger cubes, and it helps soothe my stomach. So maybe you're right. Maybe the ginger does help with the, but there was no acidicness to it, right? I didn't feel like I was my enamel on my teeth was rotting off or anything. It was just really well done.
Good.
I said, okay, I'm going to jump down to the Lumberbeard. I've talked about Lumberbeard Brewing before, and I had one of their beers. This one's a collaboration. Let me open this up real quick. This is a collaboration with, oh no, is it? Hold on. Let me open it up more. With Whistlepunk Brewing. And this beer is called Lumberpunk. And it's a Pilsner. It's an Italian Pilsner. So an Italian Pilsner, we talked about, and I don't remember which show it was. We talked about the Italian Pilsner. So basically it's a hopped up Pilsner, I guess. I'm trying to remember the details on it. Now I can't remember. I know it had special yeast it used, highly attenuated, but yeah, I can't remember. But it's an Italian Pilsner. Very well done. I really enjoyed this beer. I gave it a 4.5 cap rating. What I said is they nailed this beer. So refreshing, easy drinking, perfect for after that afternoon of yard work, which I had just finished my yard work. I was hot and sweaty. I come in, I wanted a Pilsner. I grabbed a Pilsner. Man, this 16-ounce beer went down like in 2 seconds. I mean, I really enjoyed this beer. It was very clean and refreshing and hit everything I needed. So Lumberbeard. All right, let's see where I'm at now. I'm trying to go where I don't have to jump around too much. The next one is from, and again, I had 5 and all the rest are 4.5 caps. So these are all highly rated in my book. I had so many 4.5 cap ratings, I had to talk about them all. So this one is from Great Basin Brewing out of Nevada. Crap. Now I got to see where they're at. It's Sparks. Yeah, Sparks, Nevada. I thought it was Sparks, but I didn't want to say Sparks without knowing, because then Mike Allen would be all over my ass about not getting a Reno or a Nevada brewery right. I've heard great things about Great Basin Brewing, but they never have distributed here in the Boise area. Finally, I found one of their beers at the co-op, and I had to pick it up. And it was this Firelit Haze Hazy IPA, and it's a New England IPA. The artwork on the can is very vibrant, and I love the artwork. It just kind of spoke to me also. I said, I've heard good things about Great Basin, and they are correct. Fantastic hazy IPA with big, juicy tropical fruit flavors. Well done. 4.5 cap rating. And then I'll talk about a Revision Brewing. We'll stay in Nevada. Revision out of Reno, Nevada. We talk about their New England IPAs, but I have left off the New England IPAs, and I only talk about their other beers. This is an Imperial Pastry Stout. So we're going to the angry chair type stout thing, right?
The pastry
stout. Yeah. This is called Coconut Pie Face. Thick, rich chocolate with vanilla and a bit of toasted coconut. Another fantastic beer by Revision. 4.5 cap rating. The reason it's not a 5, and I'll be honest with you, the reason it's not a 5 is that this beer was a bit expensive for a 16-ounce can.
Yeah.
I think it was like either $6.50 or $7, which if I bought it at a brewery, you're going to pay that price. But you're paying that price because you're helping the brewery out, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you pay that price at the store, I know it's the middleman getting the price, right? It's all the distributor and every in the store, everybody has to get their little piece. And I thought that at $6.50 or $7, I can't remember exactly the price, that I enjoyed the beer, but I didn't think. I've had other beers that had similar qualities that kept the price reasonable, right?
Yeah. And
that's why I lowered the half percent or half cap. Just being honest with you guys. And then the line, Big Basin
should be your last one.
One more. Oh shoot, I gotta go back. Sorry, I thought I was in the right direction. This is a brewery from Montana, and my buddy Bob, his son went to school in Montana, and he had gone and visited, and he visited this brewery, Map Brewing, And he said, man, the IPAs are great here. And I've heard good things about Map Brewing IPAs myself. And so he provided two, as I'm burping up IPAs, he provided 2 IPAs from Map Brewing for me. And the one that got the 4.5 cap rating was called Strange Cattle. It's a New England IPA. My first map of beer, thanks to my buddy Bob. Aroma is very pleasant with a bright hop character. Flavor is unique blends of tropical fruit flavors that are very nice. Mouthfeel smooth with a full body, and the bitterness is enough to balance it well. 4.5 cap rating. So Map Brewing in Montana, if Montana would cut out their crappy distribution laws and stuff, I think they would be producing and getting out some really great beers out to the world. But because they can't get out of Montana, you have to go to Montana to get them. So luckily I have a mule that could go and to and from and give me some of these beers. And those are my new and noteworthy. I tried to go fast, Chris, but I had 5 beers. I had to talk about them.
Mountains Walking from Bozeman,
There
Montana.
you go. Yeah. Nice.
So, but again, it's not distributed. It's from Tavor.
Yes. All right. So, Chris, what are your new and noteworthy beers?
So, new and noteworthy for me, I'm gonna bounce around my list a little bit too, Denny. So, I want to talk a little bit about the last one on my list was the Untitled Art. Out of Wisconsin, I believe, and Corporate Ladder right here in the Tampa area. They did a collaboration called Peaches Sour a la Mode. Now, peaches, oh my God, this is one of my favorite flavors ever. So this was actually given to me from our buddy Joel over at the Fermented Reality Beer Garden. I had to pick up some stuff from him the other day, and he goes, "Oh, hey, give this a shot too," and it was not like a smoothie, like thick and juicy. It was definitely a little on the thicker side when it hit your tongue, but peaches, cinnamon, and not too crazy cinnamon. Definitely, some graham cracker flavor in there. Just a nice, easy, little on the sweet side, but tart to balance it out. Beer. And whether it's from Corporate Ladder or Untitled Art, those guys put out some pretty great beers. I gave that one a 4 cap rating. I have, that no longer exists in my beer fridge anymore. And beer from Three Bulls Tavern and Brewery. Three Bulls is a restaurant and brewery right down the street from our house. That we visit as frequently as I possibly want to. Well, not as much as I'd like to, but as frequently as we possibly can. Tracy and her husband, Jim, not only make some pretty amazing food, but Tracy is one hell of a brewer. And especially over the past few, past couple of years, you and I, Denny, have talked a lot about beer-flavored beer. So that girl can brew some great beer-flavored beer. They're all classic styles. They're all just like this one that I'm going to talk about is their foreign export stout. And I pretty much go in there and I want to try anything new that she brews just because it's always good. Her cream ale is one of my favorite beers that they do. I've tried to talk her into selling me a 6th of it. She just won't do it. She can't. And I get it. But, being able to get these beers and try them out and them being just right here in the back of our neighborhood is terrific. But the foreign export stout, I didn't make any notes on it, typical of me. But my notes that I remember in my head was that it was a little on the dry side. It was definitely really roasty, but it was also very smooth all at the same time. So what did I have for dinner? I think I probably grabbed, they make this cheeseburger that's ground up with brisket and bacon and all. It's really good. And it was just a great, just simple beer to drink. I think it was clocking in around 4.5%, nothing huge, just good beer flavored beer to enjoy with a meal. Gave this beer a 4 cap rating as well. If you guys get into the Tampa area, just east of Tampa is where I live in an area called Brandon. Come out there and check out some of their stuff that they're doing because Tracy makes some great stuff.
Yeah, I think you posted a photo and I was surprised to see how big that area or the brewery, restaurant, tap room is. I always pictured it being a small venue when we talked about before, and it looked like it was a pretty nice size place. So are they staying busy? Are they able to keep things?
They're staying very busy. So here in Florida, we just had our governor just eliminate any restriction, any state of emergency as far as COVID goes. These guys.
Wait a minute, you guys are still above 3,000 cases a day, right?
Look, I went into Publix today. I didn't have to wear a mask. So, but the they have been busy even with COVID happening, even now that the restrictions were getting a little lighter and now that they've been completely lifted, they have been busy ever since. And the place, I'd have to imagine, Denny, if I compared it to, let's see, I'd have to say it's probably about the size of the training room that I have in our dog training facility. So it's
probably, it's pretty big.
It's probably in the 1,800 square feet range, 2,000 square feet range. They can probably seat, if I had to take a wild guess, they can probably seat about 60, 70 people in there.
Okay.
And plenty of room to move around and stuff.
That's 60, 70 people now, or even when things are like back to normal?
That's back to normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, it's not huge, but I think they're in like a small shopping plaza.
Yeah, that's what you said. That's why I always thought it was like a small little shop, because you said it was a shopping plaza.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw the photo, it looked like it was, a nice size venue.
Yeah, they have a really cool place there. I been fortunate enough to get to know them a little bit more as we've gone there. Three Bowls Brewery and Tavern. But it's really cool because they get to just kind of do their own thing. Jim's family, his family is the founder of Beef O'Brady's. I don't know if you guys have Beef O'Brady's out your way, but
we don't, but I've seen Beef O'Brady's before.
Yeah. So his family founded Beef O'Brady's, and then he and his wife have, gone on to do their own thing here, things like that. So let me share a little screen with you so you can get an idea of what we're talking about. But this right here, I guess, is off of their Facebook page. Come on, internet, you can do it. I should have just stayed here where I was.
Yeah, what the heck happened?
But there's a little bit of everything. They actually, in this picture right here, I know it's a little hard to see. This is the table where we were sitting. Probably one of those last pictures that we.
Yeah, because you took a shot that was from that table that direction.
Yeah. So facing over here in this direction.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they can probably hold. Looking at this picture, they could probably hold 60 to about 80 people.
Okay,
I'd imagine. I'd imagine their occupancy is a little on the bigger side, but but yeah, go check them out on Facebook too, guys. They they were in vacationing the other day, watching a hammerhead shark.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like a shark.
So Jim and Tracy were out vacationing in Anna Maria Island watching this hammerhead shark. They had this giant tarpon get chomped in half and then washed up on the shore, which was always unnerving considering I was at the beach today.
Yeah. I saw you drinking some Great Notion on the beach.
I did.
That's a nice beer. I still haven't had Great Notion, and it's only a state away from me.
I know. And you know what? Again, the only reason I can do it is because of Tavor.
Well, I could also do it if I went to Ontario, Oregon, which is just 45 minutes away, but I'm too lazy to drive all that way.
Look, it's good, Denny. I have a couple. There's actually in my cooler that I have here. That's the Great Notion. There's what's one of those ones? The double blueberry shake from them, right? Yeah. And I'm sure it's going to be good. This is, if it wasn't dropped off at my door, I am not going out to just be like, oh, I'm going to drive 2 hours to go get it.
No,
I'm not. Yeah. Even in my, hey, let's go stand in line at 6 a.m. days. No.
Yeah. I got you.
It's good. Cool to experience, cool to drink. But it's fruit smoothies. So 4 caps on the foreign export style. And the last one I want to talk about is from Coppertail. Now, you and I had the opportunity to speak with Coppertail's
Ken
COO, not Dr. Ken Fouch, right?
Not doctor, yeah.
Right. So, guys, we'll put a link to the show right up here if you want to check out that episode that we just did with the Fermented Reality Brewcast, where we got to talk to the COO, or Chief Operating Officer of Coppertail. And we talked a little bit about this beer on that episode. Free Dive.
Yeah.
It's their IPA, right? Nothing crazy. It's their flagship IPA is one of their beers. And Denny, this was a beer that I tried when I first moved to the Tampa area. And I tried it at a location right outside the convention center in Tampa. There's a little food bar area right outside. It's right on the water. It's pretty cool. And I tried it and I went, okay, let's get some local stuff. We're here now. Let's get some local beer. And I said, give me a Free Dive. And you can tell they don't serve much IPA there. Right. And I remember having it and going, okay, I mean, it's okay. It's not really good. Megan and I went out to dinner a couple of nights ago to a local nearby restaurant called the Shrimp Boat. And they had it there. It was very clearly fresh. You could tell it was fresh. And the way that Joel and Ken were talking about it on the show, they were like, oh yeah, it's really good. You should, give it a shot, And yeah, even Bill said Free Dive is great. And man, I tried that and it disappeared before my dinner showed up. It was just spectacular. It was just clean, but also citrusy, really easy to drink. No like harsh anything in there. I mean, it was so good. And I went from having an original check-in of 3.25 to now up to a 4.
Okay, good. Good.
So if you can get it fresh, it's great. If it's sitting in a keg for a couple of months, maybe not so much. So,
yeah. Well, good. Yeah. I really enjoyed talking with Ken Fouch. I enjoyed the conversation and to learn about the ins and outs of managing a big brewery in Florida, and the news that they were able to secure the craft beer of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for 5 years.
Yeah,
that's incredible. So I really hope that they are able to maximize that connection with this next year, and Tampa is now going to be able to get that stadium full. Coppertail is going to be pumping out beer and get their name out and make even more great beer, because I've heard good things about them.
And that was really cool, just to be able to have them kind of release that information to us.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know how open that was, but just kind of cool to be able to be kind of some of the first people to hear that and go, oh, no way.
Yeah.
Right? That's a big thing. I mean, Raymond James Stadium, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play, is monstrous. And I kind of like the way that he put it, and, not to quote him, and this is going to be paraphrasing, but just, the Bucks weren't happy with AB InBev stuff.
Yeah.
Or they wanted to kind of mix it up a little bit. They weren't thrilled. I can't remember the exact way he put it, but they were just like, they're all right.
Yeah.
They supply us with beer and we sell it, but
they weren't doing anything to wow them and make them excited about having that, that beer. And Coppertail was able to hopefully bring that excitement and provide their patrons a better opportunity to embrace the better beer, craft beer, and do something special instead of just bringing in some big stands of cans of whatever.
Well, and there's definitely some craft, and for those of you who can't see me right now, I just made the air quotes.
Crafty.
There's some very crafty options here in the Tampa Bay area that definitely, just a quick glance, you could say, hey, yes, they're a craft beer, and they certainly are as far as the criteria goes. But I will say that they are not as quality as Coppertail is. And even, guys, you need to go and listen to this interview that we had with Ken, because just it made me like them even more.
Yeah.
It really did. I already liked their product. I already liked their tap room, their food, their merchandise, all that stuff. I liked all that stuff. But what he told us just through that interview made me like them even more.
Yeah. No, it's a good interview. I'll put a link in the show notes. If you don't go and listen to all of our From In Reality Beercast episodes, I'll put a link to this one to go listen to this one and enjoy the interview. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
A lot of fun.
All right, Chris. Well, you know what? We overstepped our 1.5 hours, but we won't go over that much over that. But before we close the show out, I always want to give a chance for you to raise a glass to some people you like to raise a glass to. So who would you like to toast tonight?
So I'm sorry I'm stealing one of yours as well, but
it's shared. It's shared.
Okay, it's definitely shared. Want to raise a glass to Mr. Jeff Seiler. Jeff, happy birthday to you. I believe that was yesterday.
Yeah.
Yep. So and then 2 other people specifically. When this show releases, we are closing on a house.
Yes.
We are closing on a house.
And my daughter is closing on a house the same day. You guys
no kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 11 a.m. we go and close on our house. So I want to give a huge thank you and big shout out to our realtor, Brian Fry. He not only very patient, but a very good friend of ours. So we were happy to be able to go on that kind of process with him in what is now what he likes to refer to as the Wild West of real estate. And our home inspector, who we talked about a little earlier, Mr. Stephen Brown, for coming out, helping us out with our inspection, because we bought a rather large home and it took him quite a little bit to get through that. So, so we
got a plantation out there, huh?
We got a house on 1.25 acres. We have a 3,500 square foot home with a handful of bedrooms, handful of bathrooms, all the mansion. Stuff. So we wanted to be able to get in there and go spread out a little bit. Okay. So we're really excited to get in there, get closed, but I couldn't have done it without those 2 guys. And especially with Steven being a good buddy of mine, beer related friend, being able to walk up to him and go, "Hey, as your friend, would you buy this house?" And he goes, Yeah, I would.
Okay. That's good.
All right. That's okay. Good. All right, Denny, what about you? Who would you like to raise a glass to this evening?
Well, first I'll raise what I can, because I don't Aloha Death. I wait, in Aloha Death. I don't want to mix my IPAs with my dark ales or dark. So I'm drinking out of the can, which this is okay because I think it tastes better in the can actually than it does in the glass. But it's got really good flavor. But I raised my can to our Patreon. Toast tonight is Mark Church out there by John at Trek Brewing. Yeah. Mark Church, thank you. Normally he's online. I don't know if he's online tonight watching us, but cheers to you, Mark. Thank you for your patronage. And then of course, Jeff Seiler. His birthday was yesterday. I raised my can to you. I also just want to say, man, it warms my heart when I see the interactions of our listeners that never knew each other before they came together with the show. And yet they are connected through Facebook and Twitter and other media, and they interact and they wish people happy birthdays and well wishes and everything. And yesterday, Eric Gronley, I saw a post. Other people may have also done it, but I specifically saw Eric Gronley's post to Jeff Seiler's page that just wished him a happy birthday. And that just warms my heart, because we're bringing people together that may have never, ever come together before, but they're brought together by the craft beer. So cheers to all you guys. Thank you for being great listeners and for interacting and sharing your craft beer journeys with all of our listeners. We really appreciate that. And of course, since you mentioned that you're closing on Thursday, I also want to raise my can to my daughter, Haley, who is signing and closing on her first house on Thursday as well. So cheers to you, Haley.
Cheers, Haley.
Yeah. Now, not cheers to me, because Friday I'm driving to Pocatello to move her from her apartment to her new house. So I'm going to be dead when it comes time to record the show on Monday for the From In Reality Beercast. So don't expect much from me on that recording.
That's okay. We'll carry you along if we need to.
Okay. All right. And also, being a former serviceman, I want to raise my can and thank all those who have served and are currently serving in the U.S. military services, protecting our freedoms. I hope you all that are deployed can return safely home very soon. And Chris, why don't you go ahead and give a toast out to our sponsor?
At the forefront of the craft beer movement, Brewer Shirts was one of the first to create apparel that celebrates the art of brewing and the love of fine beer. Never too trendy, always comfortable, and offering affordable quality, they screen print their gear by hand in their studio using eco-friendly inks, materials, and processes. Visit their online store at brewershirts.com and use the coupon code TAPTHECRAFT2020 to receive 15% off full-priced items.
All right, and you can find the beers and the links to the articles mentioned in the show notes, located on the show post at tapthecraft.com.
Good catch. I'm so proud of you.
I didn't mess it up this time.
I heard the other one right here.
My mind, the whole time I was saying it, was saying open for radio. But hey, it's okay. I corrected. I made it. And if you'd like to follow us on social media, I can be found on Twitter, Instagram, and Untapped at Loose Screw. And Chris, how can our listeners follow you?
You can hardly ever, if never, find me on Twitter at Chris_McKenzie82. I'm never there. Unless I get a notification that says, hey, so-and-so mentioned you. Or you can find me on Untapped and Instagram at MCK1345. And of course, guys, you can interact with us on everything social media. Everything's at Tap the Craft.
That's right. It is last call. It's time to bring the show to a close. We want to thank you for downloading and listening to the show. We ask you to please tell a friend. And of course, subscribe on whatever you listen to our podcast. I'm going to cut that out because I think I actually enjoy saying all these different services, but you know what the services are. You can find us everywhere. So just go ahead, subscribe, like, leave us a review. We appreciate it all, but we want you back every 2 weeks. Because as a reminder, we do release a new episode every 2 weeks. We're not a weekly show. We're a bi-weekly show. Now,
if you want us, if you want us to be a weekly show, go check out our friends at the Fermented Reality Beer.
Right. That's right.
Yes, got that plug in there. Go ahead. Sorry.
All right. Now go out there and spread the good word of craft beer.
Cheers.
Cheers.